I'm actually pretty surprised at 33%. So this is another testament to pulling students up to becoming high-performing students. Right? When that many students are scoring in the A range, something's going well. Mean score by exam, a jump of over 5 points on the first one, 12 on the second one, 6, 9, 17. 17, that's almost 2 letter grades. That's a good sign. So what this contract did was it motivated them to start working. Once they experienced some success, they were doubly motivated. They were motivated because they were performing well. They were motivated because they knew that they had to keep on track to stay eligible for that contract bonus at the end. By the way, I guess I should say something about that cumulative assignment. That cumulative assignment was a MyMathLab assignment, 150 questions covering the whole semester, and I used it for the non-contract students, the students that didn't meet their contract. That was their final review. The other students completed it as their last out for the semester. All right, so a little bit about the benefits that I observed. First thing, students remediate themselves, and we've heard it all day. Right? Find out where your issues are, get some help, come back and try it again. When a student would get a homework problem wrong, they knew that that couldn't stand. So they would find out what was going wrong, then they would come back and try again. Students learn proper notation. Are you guys big notation sticklers? I use this analogy with my students. When you're in your English class, is it okay to put a shamrock instead of a period? No. So you have to use the proper notation in this class as well. And MyMathLab doesn't tolerate bad notation. When we teach inequalities and interval notation, I ran out of hair to pull out for the infinity, comma, -5. Right? It's got to be left to right, -5 to infinity. MyMathLab won't take it. They understand afterwards why it wouldn't accept it. They don't make that mistake again. Students form bonds with classmates. I teach in a, my office is inside of a computer lab, small computer lab, 24 stations. We used to call it the ghost town. No one would ever come in. But my students, when they would get out of class across the hall, would come in groups. And my colleagues were upset with me, you know, because students kept coming into their office and asking questions. I didn't really apologize for that. I was comfortable with that. But they couldn't understand why the sudden increase in business. My students would come in groups of 3, and they would all try problem 1. And then they would check with everybody got that? Let's move to problem 2. If one of the students would miss it, you missed that one, what went wrong? And they would help each other. It was I mean, if you want to design an ideal learning experience, that's pretty close. Yes? Yeah, so the problems are algorithmically generated, so same type, but different problem. So if you got problem 1 wrong, I would say, well, here's what I did, you know, and they're writing their work down. Here's what I did on problem 1. Let's see if we can work through this. Hit similar exercise, we'll see if we can work through it together. Which, you know, I like students connecting with students. My big theory is that if students can connect with each other, then maybe they can connect with me, and then maybe they can connect with the mathematics. That's the idea. And so I start in these small groups, and I build what I call a community of learners. So I encourage this sort of idea anyway. They could see the payoff. And they were worried about somebody in their group not making the contract, so they wanted to help. I do. We form groups on the first day of class that lasts all semester. We form groups of 4. They name their group, which is a little juvenile sometimes, but I'm trying to get them to talk to each other at the beginning. And then I form groups based on location. I figured that there was something comfortable about that part of the room or the people that they sat by, and I take that and I run with it. Now, obviously, the person next to you could be a jerk, right? And you don't know that. You have to be flexible enough to change as it goes. But for me, this semester, I haven't changed one group yet, and we're week 7 at my school. The students working, oh, go ahead. Yeah, that's the plan. Now again, sometimes things happen where you're going to have to change groups. When a student drops, maybe one group loses 2 students, I have to be creative enough to find somebody else for them to work with, or the 3 of you can't work with her, I have to find a way to change that. But for the most part, I never run into that situation. Students working ahead, I did mention, I posted the homework the night before. How many of your students read before class? Yeah. Mine either. Even though I encourage it, students don't want to read ahead of time. We're lucky if we can get them to read after the fact. By putting up the homework the night before, a lot of students are willing to jump in and try, and then show up to class with questions already in their mind, which is ideal. There's nothing better than walking into, your intermediate algebra class, and you're about to start lecturing on hyperbolas. And a student in the back says, wait, I just have one question. When you're completing the square to get the equation for the hyperbola into the right form, so, whoa, slow down. Let's talk about hyperbolas first, but I can tell you've done the homework. I'm getting questions from the end of the section before I've started the beginning. So I know my students were working ahead, trying to get the jump on that 100%, trying to get their questions answered in class so they could finish it that night. Students put in a lot of time and effort that semester. The first test period, I totaled up their MyMathLab homework and quiz time, and the average was almost 7 hours, which, it was about 7 more hours than I could expect in general. It consistently went up as the semester went on, till by the time we were on test 5 and I ran it again, it was twice what it was for the first one. So these students have experienced some success, and they're going to work harder to keep their edge, which was, at the end of the semester where most of our students are letting up, we need them to finish the deal. And this worked. Talked about finding your issues through either the homework or the quizzes. I mean, that's how we want them to do their, in the days where we did pencil and paper homework, that's what we wanted, right? Try the problem, check your answer in the back. If it's not right, find out what went wrong. We couldn't expect them to generate a whole new problem to try, but that was the idea. My students did their homework, like Andrina was talking about. They're writing everything down. I don't want them just typing and guessing and hoping for the best. So they were doing their homework, recording what they did so that when they ran into the quiz, which for me is really just super homework, it's the homework without the learning aids, they had some materials ready to help them succeed with those problems. They had already identified their issues, and they had recorded strategies for getting around those issues. Shoot. At home, on campus, wherever they wanted to. I don't time them so that they could, I'm not sure what the economy is like here. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure. But a lot of my students were so overcommitted in terms of working and childcare and so on that they needed the flexibility to be able to start, stop, come back to it. I didn't want to put a time limit on it. I really wanted to treat it as what I call super homework. Yeah.